Our job is to make contact with the customer. By focusing on making contact, you will increase your results in getting payments and retrieving equipment. Understand that it is not necessarily what you say as much as it is how you say it. We will discuss later your approach to the customer and some things that you can say to encourage the customers to pay the bill. Now, let's explore some ways to maximize your contacts in a time-efficient manner. You should make the tightest route you can run through in about 2 to 2.5 hours. Although there's no magic number, the number of work orders will vary depending on the area you are covering. As a rule of thumb, 20 to 35 jobs. Use a mapping program such as Streets and Trips or a GPS unit with routing capability to make this process easier. Check out the Streets and Trips tutorial on the Makotek website. Run your complete route once through and then take a break. Get some lunch, run some errands, but you must take a break of at least 30 minutes between your first and second run-through. During your first complete run-through of your route, you should make contact with an average of 4 to 6 customers. That includes payments, vacant houses, no money, or arrangements. For those with whom you do not make contact, place something against the door that the customer would have to move. This could be a newspaper, doormat, news flyer, or anything that is handy and non-threatening. You can also leave a door tag, and some customers may call you and give you a payment over the phone. On your second and or your third trips, you will be able to notice if someone has come home. Always be aware and look for dogs. You should always notate your work orders with each attempt. Put the date, the time, and the results of that attempt. Notating the work order helps you to stay organized in several ways. For future visits, it lets you know when the customer is not at home. It serves as a reminder for which houses you must return to, and it documents your efforts so that both your manager and the client can see that you're working the work order. After at least a 30-minute break, you should begin your second run-through after school is out, which will increase your chances of catching a parent at home. You should have about 6 to 10 less work orders and move through them faster because you are more familiar with the location, and for those you notice are still not home, you won't have to go to the door. You should make contact with an average of 6 to 10 more customers up to about 6 p.m. As darkness falls, be aware of your surroundings at night and the hazards that may be present. You should begin your third run through about 6 p.m. and you should have about 17 or less work orders left. It may be dark or approaching dark, but you will find the houses easily since you've been to each one of them twice already. You should make contact with half or more of the remaining orders because this is prime time. Be extra cautious while driving at dusk and after dark for potential driving hazards. The next morning you should run the few remaining work orders and then mix in your fresh work orders and begin the same process again. Make sure you hit the ones you didn't make contact with 2 other days before the end of the cycle. At the time of disconnect, leave a door hanger with the appropriate boxes checked and your cell phone number so you can be reached for a restart or to pick up equipment. Be sure to only check the appropriate boxes and leave your name and cell phone number. Some customers may become upset with their services being disconnected, so always be courteous and respectful when dealing with irate customers. This process allows you to make contact with a high percentage of customers each day. You should complete at least 15 jobs per day or 90 per week with high save, equipment, and contact rates. Once contact with the customer is made, always strive to leave with a payment, a partial payment, or equipment. Essentially, there are 2 methods of collecting: in person or by telephone. When you go to the customer's residence, make sure you do not park in the driveway. One reason for this is because someone may need to enter the driveway or someone may need to leave, and most people don't like being blocked in or out of their driveway. Instead, park near the pole in case they don't pay and for the customer to see that without payment, disconnect is imminent. Let them know that we accept cash, checks, and debit or credit cards. Explain to the customer if they cannot pay right then that we can work with them by accepting a partial payment and coming back for the balance, or taking a post-dated check. There are specific rules that must be followed, and on an exception basis, clients may not allow us to take post-dated checks. See your manager for more information. You can also collect from customers over the telephone. In many systems, you can accept a check by phone, also known as an electronic funds transfer, or EFT. Additionally, you can accept a credit or debit card over the phone. If neither of these are an option for the customer, you can make an appointment to meet with the customer to receive cash or a physical hard copy check. Collecting by phone can save you both time and gas money, yet you still must go to the door to make contact and collect from many customers. Be sure to arrange your work hours to make contact with customers. This includes weekends and evenings up to 9 p.m. At Makotek, we follow the Fair Debt Collections Practices Act to make sure customers are treated fairly. We also must abide by the Cable TV Privacy Act of 1984. In summary, you can only contact customers in person or by phone between the hours of 8 a.m. and 9 p.m. unless you have made specific arrangements with the customer. You can only discuss the account with the account holder or their spouse. Cannot turn in a post-dated check prior to the date written on the check, or take a post-dated check for more than 5 days out. Cannot threaten the customer, use profane or obscene language, or use false representation or deception to collect or obtain information. When using a door tag, you can only check the appropriate boxes and leave your name and cell phone number as stated earlier. The Privacy Act also states that you cannot discuss the customer's account with anyone other than the customer or their spouse. This includes any and all information regarding the customer's account, either directly or indirectly. Also, you must not deal with a minor under the age of 18 under any circumstances. If anyone else answers the door or approaches you in the yard and are pressing for information, just tell them that you are merely there to service the account. For further information regarding the FDCPA and the Privacy Act, refer to your copy of the Makotek Field Safety and Training Manual. As a new technician, you may feel that you don't know what to say to the customer. How you approach the customer sets the tone for the transaction. When you call or knock on the customer's door, always treat them with courtesy and respect. Although individual styles may vary somewhat, the key is to be pleasant, confident, and professional. By using a pleasant, confident, and professional approach, you set the tone for the transaction. Most people want to keep their cable active. Many times they will be agreeable and pay the bill immediately. Not everyone responds this way, however, and they will have some objections. Don't worry, objections are normal. Expect them and be prepared to overcome them. There are literally any number of objections that a customer may have. An objection does not necessarily mean that they will not pay. Many times it is simply an attempt to get you to leave or to buy more time. For training purposes, we have separated objections into 4 categories. Category 1, customer issues. You may hear things like, I never received a bill, or I paid a month in advance so I don't owe the money. I never received a late notice. I've had bad service and I want credit. They may say they have billing questions, or they speak no English at all. They may tell you they've had a family emergency and can't pay, or go ahead and disconnect it. Category 2, arrangements with the cable company. Some customers will tell you that the cable company gave them an extension, or they're not going to pay until the due date on the bill. I'll go to the office and pay, or I've already paid in the office but they didn't give me a receipt, or I'll pay over the phone or online. Category 3, no money right now. Some people are waiting on their first of the month check, or they'll say, can you come back at another time? I've just gotten laid off, I've lost my job. Or my spouse has the checkbook, the check is in the mail. I just got out of the hospital. Or I have an automatic draft that pays my cable bill. Category 4, account holder is not home. My parents aren't home right now. I'm just the babysitter. I'm house sitting and they're on vacation. Oh, they no longer live here. He or she is not at home right now. Let's take a look at some typical scenarios and some possible responses. Some key points to remember are these are generic examples. Factor in your system's specific variables. Avoid unnecessary conversation and be courteous, but stick to the topic.
Yes, may I help you?
Hey, Miss Jones. I'm Mike with the cable company. I've been routed here for a service interruption on the cable, but I wanted to check with you first to see if you'd like to make a payment. The balance due is $187.
I just mailed the payment.
I see. It may take several days before they receive that payment. In order to stop the service interruption, I would need to pick up a payment. How much did you send?
I mailed a check for $57.
Okay. To stop the service interruption, I would need to receive $130, and when they receive your mailed payment, they will credit it to your account. Did you want to pay cash, or would a check or credit card be better for you?
Can't you just wait until the payment I mailed is received?
Actually, this is a disconnect order, and if I don't receive payment, I'll have to interrupt the service until payment is received. At that time, you can call them and pay the reconnect fee, and they'll reschedule it for the first available day after that. As a courtesy, I just wanted to check with you first to see if you wanted to make a payment rather than have it disconnected.
My cable's already disconnected.
They turn the equipment off first to encourage payment before sending a tech out to complete the physical disconnect. I can receive your payment today and get your equipment turned back on. Will that work for you?
Well, how much is it?
The amount due is $187. Would you like to use cash, check, or credit card?
My services have not worked for the last week or so. Don't I get a credit or a discount for it not working?
Did you place a service call?
No, I thought they could tell when it wasn't working.
Okay, here's what I can do to help. Let's get this bill taken care of, and then we can get a service call scheduled. Did you want to write a check or use a credit card?
My check doesn't come until the first of the month.
I understand. Well, there is a couple things I could do to help keep your services active. You could use a credit card and then pay the card when you get your check, or you can write a check and date it for the 1st, and I'll hold it with the work order until then. So that way it's not deposited until the day that you need it to be. Which one would work best for you?
I've already made arrangements with the cable company to pay on it next week.
I understand. The person who made the arrangements may not have noticed how close it was to going out for disconnect, and the work order was issued. Here's what I can do. To keep your services on, write a check, date it for the arrangement date next week, and I'll hold the check with the work order until then. That way we can keep your services on and honor the arrangement at the same time. Okay?
Yeah, I know I'm late. What's the least I have to pay to keep it on?
The balance due is $187. I can accept cash, check, or credit card.
I'm going to write a check, but what is the least I have to pay?
Well, ma'am, the balance due is $187.
I can't pay that right now. How much will it take to keep it on?
How much can you pay today?
The best I can do is $100.
Here's what I can do. I'll go ahead and take the $100 a day, and I'll come back for the balance Friday. Which is better for you, morning or afternoon?
Notice that in each scenario, the tech remained professional and courteous, as well as staying on topic. He also showed the customer that he was trying to work with her by emphasizing, "Here's what I can do." After handling each objection, the technician again asked for the payment and gave the customer payment options. There will be occasions where the customer simply cannot pay or will not pay. In that case, you will have to disconnect, but be sure not to leave empty-handed. Go ahead and pick up any equipment they may have.
I'm not going to be able to pay that. You can just go ahead and disconnect it.
Well, there's a couple things I could do for you. Are you able to put anything on it today?
No, I appreciate it, but I'm just not going to be able to pay it.
Okay, I understand. We hate to lose you as a customer, but I'll need to go ahead and pick up the equipment while I'm here.
Always be sure to document your work order for every transaction and have the customer sign it. Include the time and date as well as your signature and tech number. Remember this phrase, documentation beats conversation. It is of the utmost importance to remain professional when dealing with customers. You should look the part by wearing your hard hat and tool belt to the door, as this helps convince the customer of the need to pay now. Be polite, courteous, and positive. Never argue with the customer, and don't take anything the customer says personally. Remember the FDCPA rules and don't deal with anyone other than the customer or their spouse. Never discuss any information with a minor. If you do make an appointment with the customer to come back, be sure to be on time. Give the customer a time frame such as 4 to 6 rather than a specific time. Also verify the customer's phone number and get a signature on the work order. Sometimes it is easier for the customer to simply tell you to go ahead and disconnect rather than pay. Be persistent and let the customer know you are there to work with them to get their bill caught up. If you appear genuinely concerned with helping them keep their cable service, your persistence will often change their mind to pay. The first thing to remember if a customer becomes irate with you is to remain calm. The customer simply may be having a bad day for many reasons, or could just be frustrated or embarrassed. Don't take it personal. You can allow them to vent, and often they will settle down. Becoming confrontational will only escalate the situation. If the situation does appear to be getting out of control, you can simply tell them, "Have a nice day," and leave to defuse the situation. Although it is a natural tendency to respond in kind, you cannot let that happen. Even if the customer uses profanity, you must never use profanity or lose your temper with the customer. Athletes practice in between games to stay sharp and well rehearsed. Role-playing has the same benefit for the collector, both experienced and new techs. Frequent practice through role-playing helps the collector to answer objections and to get more payments without having so many awkward pauses while trying to think about how to respond to the customer. New ideas and input come from each other while role-playing. The collector becomes more comfortable dealing with the customers, especially the new techs. Role-playing with our coworkers adds a certain element of fun and makes the collections process more enjoyable. In summary, focus on making contact and maximize your route for greatest efficiency. Utilize both phone and in-person contacting methods. Develop your approach. Learn to expect and overcome objections. Be polite, professional, and persistent. If a customer becomes irate, remain calm, allow them to vent, and walk away if the situation gets out of control. Documentation beats conversation. Practice role-playing with your coworkers to stay sharp. Remember, most people want to keep their cable. It's up to you to help them find a way to do that.